Hello, everybody. This is Diane, your comatose 40-something.
And as always, your zombified 30-something Brian. We had a little technical difficulties last night with some people showing up at some host's house unexpectedly. So we're cranking this bad boy out early morning Monday before we all get off to our days.
So I told my husband, Sunday night, sacrosanct. People can come over any other night of the week. No one comes over on Sunday night.
That's what I do. I'm not even kidding. So like when football season starts, it's like from 11:30 till 6:30, the house is closed. There's no visitors allowed during football season. I have football friends that come over, but other than that, family knows you cannot come over at this time, or if you have come down for the weekend, you need to be gone by 11. And the same way in the evening, too. Like, I don't take phone calls. I don't do anything. Like, that's like my straight-up shutdown moment.
I seriously said when he said on Saturday, rather, that these folks were coming over, I said, they're going to mess up my Walking Dead. And he said, no, they're going to be here at like 2 or 3. Yeah, right. So we had
Or you just be the rude house guest and you're like, yeah, no, sorry, you guys have fun, but just leave the door closed and don't open.
Problem was I work with one of them and I'd never met the other, so it was kind of one of those delicate things. But yeah, so we had to come into Jesus last night about Sunday nights.
That's funny.
Well, so we are here with the 5th episode of season 2 of Fear, and it was called Captives. So what do you think? How did you rate it?
Well, I rated it, I would say a 3.5 hooded walkers out of 5. I was not creative with my naming.
No, I think that's funny. And you know what? We're right on again. I rated it 3.5 stolen steaks out of 5.
Yeah, that's steak, man. Dang it.
So just really quickly before we get into Captive, I did check out numbers from last week for Blood in the Streets, and it was 4.8 million on the same day. So it actually held fairly steady.
That's surprising.
Yeah. I mean, I'm glad.
I thought it was going to be near the 4s. So that, yeah, I'm really surprised Game of Thrones didn't steal more, but I mean, it's showing a different demographic then, or a different flavor.
Well, and I think the other thing is, it's probably one where if I take the time to go back and do the Live Plus 3 or do the Live Plus 7, we might actually see some improvement. So I'm going to try to get better about doing that. I'll look at Blood in the Streets next week and see if I can find the Live Plus 3.
Sure.
Because it'll be interesting to see if there is an upswing with DVR.
I'm sure there is, but I don't know. Who knows?
Yeah. But anyway, so the title was Captive. I didn't come up with anything particularly creative. I just thought it referred to the multiple captives and kind of the multiple levels of captives in the episode.
Yeah, I definitely think it was more, not captive talking about Reed or talking about Travis. I think it was more saying captive about the entire group. Because throughout the dialogue of the episode, you learn that these people aren't there because they wanted to be.
Right.
These people were there because they were plucked from a group or out of the ocean in some way, shape, or form to then serve or purposely serve. So I guess you could say.
You did find a deeper meaning. I mean, I was just really looking literally at the captives in the situation. But you're right. In their own way, they're, to use Strand's words, obligated to Connor. Or to look at some of our bad guys in Walking Dead Prime, they're obligated to service somehow, to the governor, to Negan, to Gareth. So, yeah, I mean, absolutely, there's that element of it. So, good catch.
So that was my outside-the-box thinking, and now I'm exhausted.
You can't be exhausted. It's 5 o'clock here. What time is it there?
8.
Well, you need another cup of coffee or two.
So that was kind of I don't think there was... That was just kind of the deeper from the surface between Reed and Travis and them. I think it was more just the group itself. Because as you started to talk to people and find out why they're there or how they got there, you start to learn that none of them really want to be there.
And it really does sound like Reed and Connor are completely running the show.
Yeah, they get a say in what happens. They get to do everything, and then everybody else at that point is just kind of along for the ride. So that's just how it works, I guess.
So, gotta tell you, don't have writer, don't have director. They've been doing this really obnoxious thing lately of saying to be determined or to be announced, and there's still nothing up on the website this morning. So,
Oh well.
yeah. Now, I did try to do you a favor with our featured cast of the week.
Ooh, is it a girl
So,
now?
well, it is. So I looked at the girl who plays Ophelia because I thought that you always kind of struggled to remember Ophelia's name. So hopefully
Mm-hmm.
we'll make her a little more memorable for you.
Perfect.
So the actress is Mercedes Mason. What I thought was really interesting is she was actually born in Sweden.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and moved to the States at the age of 12. She was born in 82, so she's just a baby. If, in my world, anyway. And she actually had a big international modeling career with Ford Agency during all of high school. And she started acting when she got out of high school, and her first big break was a movie with Vince Vaughn called The Breakup. I don't know if you remember that.
I don't remember. A
Yeah, I
long
don't
time
either.
ago.
There was a bunch of stuff that was listed that I have not seen. A movie called Red Sands, Quarantine 2, Three Veils, and then she actually has had some ongoing roles in Entourage, The Closer, Californication. So those are some things I'm more familiar with.
Sure.
But anyway, so that's Ophelia Salazar, aka Mercedes Mason in real life.
Hot ziggity.
Yeah. And I was actually kind of interested. I will give you my little sidebar that she was only born in 82 because she seems older on the show.
Yeah, she does.
You know, they're playing her as really kind of dour and withdrawn, and I wonder if maybe we'll see some changes and some blossoming in Ophelia
Well,
as
I mean,
things
there
go
was
on.
some minor dialogue between her and Nick because they were talking about, it's like, I gave up a lot where she was
Right.
talking to Nick and I gave up a lot. And he's like, what do you mean? They gave so much up for me. I just stayed behind to take care of the shop and my parents.
Right.
So, I mean, that would put her at 33 years. I mean, if she was born in 82 and they kept her on the same age, she would be in her early 30s. So, I guess, if she watched everybody kind of go on to school and got trapped in work in there, I guess. Yeah.
And I do think that we are going to see some changes in Ophelia if she continues to be with us.
Yeah, she's starting to warm up to Nick a little bit. I don't know if you
Yeah.
caught that.
Well, they said this whole thing on The Talking Dead. I don't want to belabor it too much because I didn't necessarily agree with her take, but they interviewed her and she said, well, it's the two pure souls, Ophelia and Nick, who always clean up everybody's mess. And I was like, well, I don't know that I agree with the definition of the two pure souls, but I can see that they always end up cleaning up the messes.
That's true.
All right, so tell me your epic, man.
Well, my epic was the whole Chris and Reed exchange.
Okay.
As Chris is sitting there on the bed watching Daniel kind of clean the wound a little bit and all of that, he's watching this happen, and you can see that Reed is instantly in his head, like right off the bat.
Yeah.
And he just keeps going, and there was just that raw emotion, and you just kept talking to him, and he's like, hey, kept making the orphan comments and stuff like that, and where's your mom and stuff like that. So, it was good to really have this really fleshing it out kind of argument that was very different from the last time Daniel had somebody tied to a chair.
Right.
Last time he was begging and pleading for his life. This guy was not pleading for his life at all in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah, he was totally playing the game right back.
Yeah, he was. He was just kind of going back. And then I love Daniel's comments is like, look, I've met a lot of frightening people in my time, and none of them had to tell me how scary they were.
Right.
And then, so, that was just there, and it was alive, and it was real, and I really enjoyed that kind of what's going to happen. And Chris is going to be like, oh, crap. What I didn't think was that Chris was going to outright kill him. I thought Chris was
Right.
going to torture him and do these things as he's looking up to Daniel
Right.
as kind of that person he can trust, best friend, father kind of a deal. And I thought he was going to start to learn. And I thought maybe he was going to say, teach me the ways of what you're doing, and then he would kind of experiment on Reed while everybody was gone. That's what I thought was going to happen.
I think there's still some potential for that if they get into another situation where they have a captive, because I agree with you. Right now, Salazar is the only person that he really has any respect for.
Yeah, absolutely.
I also really liked, and I'm kind of pulling this in a little bit from my writing potpourri because you mentioned it. When he came out and said he was gonna turn, there was part of me that was like, yeah, is that really true?
Yeah,
Or was
no,
it
it
just
wasn't.
revenge? You
That
know?
was just revenge.
And I will admit that I was not entirely clear on that until they interviewed that actor on the Talking Dead, and then he said, no, 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 it was all about revenge.
Hmm.
So that was pretty cool.
So what's your epic?
Well, mine is actually somewhat related. I actually really liked Daniel Salazar in this episode. I mean, once again, we're starting to really see that darker side flesh out. So it's not just that I'm a bad dude and I tortured that soldier and I'm so sorry, Ophelia. We're really starting to see his skill as someone who was an interrogator come forward in a sick but useful way.
Hmm.
I just kind of felt like we were watching him operate in territory where he was very comfortable. This is something that's very familiar to him. And he, while Reed was getting into Chris's head, did a really great job of sticking his fingers in and playing around in Reed's head. Stuff like what you talked about, the comment about the bad guys. He says at one point early on, do you really think you're going home?
Yeah.
And he was able to get, as he said, a lot of information from Reed just by messing with him, just by
Hmm.
keeping him going and letting him talk. So I really enjoyed that character getting fleshed out a little bit more, and I just think that we're going to continue to see some useful darkness from Salazar.
I agree. What is your fail?
Well, I have to be honest with you and say I wasn't really thrilled with the way that they reintroduced Alex.
Caveman Alex? I called it. I was like, that looks like Captain Caveman.
I don't know if it's just me craving some completion and some forward movement, or if it really is a flaw in her in her reintroduction. But I just didn't find it to be satisfying. And it didn't really seem like who she is. I mean, she does make the comment, nobody uses this girl, or something like that. And I thought,
Yeah.
okay, that's the person that I think of as Alex. I mean, she's shown that she's pretty independent. The thing
I
that
think it.
oh, go
Go ahead.
ahead.
No, I was going to say, I think it's all an act. I think she is playing this distraught captive because she has lost everything.
Mm-hmm.
But, she's also playing like, oh, I'm a helpless girl. Help me. Oh, no. Knowing that she was kicking some ass on the webisodes that were that 15-part miniseries in
Right,
between The Walking Dead.
right. And she's got skill and knowledge. She's got a lot more to bring. So,
Hmm.
obviously, I don't think we're done with her yet. I'd be really pissed if we were because it's a lot of build up for, yeah, you made me really mad and now I'm going to go do something else on the captive boat, you know.
So,
I did think it was interesting to see Travis get bit in the butt by his decision, though. To have her really confront him about his decision, clearly knowing that he was wrong, seeing in his face that he knew he was wrong, he still cut the rope on the boat.
yeah, I think that was kind of cheesy how that was kind of worked in there. That was just kind of like, she's like, you knew what the right and wrong decision was, but you still chose the wrong one. Right, but Strand calls the shots. It's his boat. He was able to get there through a halfway compromise. So, that was kind of my thing is, well, yes, you went in the thing, but he also got you food and water, and he was able to at least get you something in return, which ultimately not wound up not making a difference. But,
Right.
I mean, come on. Like, you clearly seen who was in charge there. You're mad because then he didn't kill Strand for someone he doesn't even know. So that was
Maybe
kind of my
she's just
rebuttal.
and maybe she's just holding Travis to a higher standard. I don't know, but it was good to see some consequence. Some stuff finally start to come back around.
Sure. So,
One more thing real quick about Alex, and I want to comment on this because I think it bears something in terms of the relationships to the pirates and to what we may see from them again. I thought it was really interesting that Alex and Alicia were both made up, hair done, cleaned up, and it just kind of seemed like women as a commodity, they were allowing themselves to be used as a commodity, and I just kind of wondered if there wasn't something more going on there.
And that's kind of what I think it was she was really referring to, and I think that's why they wanted Alicia specifically, is that, you know, everybody needed to have their, quote, girlfriend there in the apocalypse. And I kind of seen that's what was happening, which also was kind of with the Reed's girlfriend, the pregnant one.
Right.
Where she was just always kind of reasserting herself as the alpha female of the group, taking a stake.
Right.
You know? I mean, if you look in the animal kingdom, the alpha female eats first.
Yeah, or she'll just walk over and take
it. And that's exactly what she did. And then at the end, when she went down to Alicia and said, "No, I think you're going to spend some time in a cage," and Alicia's like, "Don't think so," and threw her ass in the cage, you know. So I think that's really what this is about. It may not be a commodity sake, but everybody needs to have their own girlfriend in this area. And I think that's where Alex was saying, you know, nobody uses me. People don't use me.
Right.
So my fail is directly linked to this.
Oh, good.
In that Alicia was completely off the hook for them boarding the boat.
Right. That's
what kind of pissed me off, because Alicia now gets out of the guilt.
Right.
It wasn't my fault. It's Alex's. It was a move in revenge. So it's technically Strand's fault now. You know? No, it was that I needed Alicia to have that sort of consequence and that guilt for her actions. Because, dang it, I can't think of his name. Why am I blanking on the boy?
Jack.
Nope. Our
Chris.
boy. Chris, yeah. Chris, you know, he has that guilt of, you know, if I just would have shot them like I was supposed to, like Strand told me to, we would have never been here. We were supposed to shoot them. And, you know, the one thing that his dad said that was very telling, Travis said, was that it's not all your fault.
Oh, I missed that subtlety. That's good.
So, yeah, it's not all your fault. So, or no, it wasn't. It was Madison. Yeah, it was Madison. It wasn't Travis. It was Madison. She said, it's not all your fault.
Now that sounds much more like something that Madison would say, because she's all about Shades of Grey.
So she was saying that. So it's nice that they're actually assigning him blame, you know, where Nick was trying to take it away. He's like, dude, I wouldn't even have shot a pregnant woman.
Right.
You know, but if you would have shot the other guys, it would have been a different story. So they do kind of blame him, but not fully, but they partially do. So that was my fail.
Well, and then, you know, just jumping on that, and you've said it, but I'm going to kind of say it more clearly. It's really unfair to have such one-sided blame.
Yeah, I guess at the end of the day, everyone's going to want to go back and blame Strand, but I could say that Strand is completely innocent in all this, because if everybody would have done their job as they were supposed to, they never would have been boarded.
I agree. I totally agree. Yeah, I actually feel like Alicia is at the biggest fault. Maybe Travis has some responsibility because of the decision that he made about Alex. And then Alex and Chris share fault as well. But I still feel like it's pretty much Alicia's reveal to Jack when she was talking to him on the portable radio. Yeah. Well, my epic fail was just basically that it didn't live up to the promise of last week. Last week was such a good episode, and I really thought they hit their groove, and it was kind of meh, you know?
I think there was a lot more to this episode. I'm not ready to say that yet, but some people did. Some people didn't think it was. We talked before, and I said, you know, I thought they were going to get to the end of the episode without the exchange.
Right.
And then I would have said exactly what you said. I would have been very pissed had they got to that point and not done anything. That would have made me very mad. But once they did it, the exchange, and we got some closure, and, well, half closed. It's not fully closed. But we got to that point. I was okay with it. I was okay with the episode. Better than a lot of the others.
And I do have to say the zombie bite where Connor was taken out, where he had that big chunk pulled out of his arm, that was a thing of beauty.
Yeah, that was really good.
That was
I
a
was
good
very happy
effect.
with how that all kind of played out.
Yeah.
So my epic fail is Madison. I hate this woman. I hate her character. She 100. I've said it 100 times. I keep saying it. She is my Lori. She doesn't want her family involved in anything. She is trying to assert her as the head decision maker and leader of this group when she is far from it. You know, she keeps going, you don't involve my son, and you don't do this, and you don't do that, and you're not going, you're not helping, nobody's helping anymore.
Right.
You put down that gun, you're getting way too comfortable. You know, no, 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 no. She's telling everybody no, but she's only telling her family no. And it's like, lady, we're done. We're done here.
Yeah, I liked what Salazar said, where he's like, you can't treat them like kids anymore.
Yeah, it just, this whole continual thing of,
Yeah.
no, you're not helping Strand anymore. You're not doing Strand anymore. You're not holding a gun. You're not going here. You're not going there. And she's in this giant fervor of trying to protect her kids, even though she admits that to Strand that Nick is fully qualified to live in this world. She goes, it doesn't mean he should.
Right.
And it's just like there is this clear cut fail to realize what people are capable of and are doing. So I don't like her. That's it.
I have got to tell you, on the tail of your epic fail, I was watching this last night and I was thinking, this is hilarious. And I thought of you. I did. Because she was just acting so outrageously. And I thought, oh man, Brian's losing it.
Yeah. She just infuriates me when she goes on these rants about who's right and who's wrong and how this is going to be. And I was hoping Strand's handler was going to fix that a little bit.
Yeah.
But that's in the rotten potpourri.
Well, I do think that Alicia is her mini-me. I'm not a big fan of Alicia either. So it'll be interesting to see how it all plays out.
Let's head over to the rotten potpourri section of this fantastic show. So the first laugh out loud moment that I got out of this episode was when Daniel comes out of the interrogation room and she sees all the bloody bandages and shirts and stuff.
Right.
And she's like, and he's like, he required me. She's like, what did you do? What? No, he required medical attention.
Yes.
And she's like, oh, okay. I just had to ask. Like, that to me was hilarious. That was her first reaction of oh my God, you're slicing his hands off again. And he's like, no, or he required attention. She's like, what does that mean? He required medical attention. Oh, okay. So I thought that was pretty funny. That was one of my more comedic moments of this episode.
I actually also felt like that might have been a bit of the start of softening and understanding between the two of them. So it'll be interesting to see if that plays out. But yeah, that was pretty funny. And I caught that he emphasized medical attention. And I thought that was really good.
Well, I think you made a good point there about the softening the relationship, because as this goes on and as Ophelia is seeing the reality of this world, I think she is going to keep making those comparisons of this is really what he had to do.
Right.
And I think she's going to start slowly and gradually understanding that. However, the one thing I didn't like, how Madison comes out of this is completely justified for all of her decisions again. That made me very unhappy.
Because once again, you hate the Madison.
Yep. So let's talk about the exchange for a second, because that was something that you liked and that was something I liked, and we got some good closure on that. And that's what I really appreciated was, as this is happening, and she's like, oh, cool, we got a walker now. Let's just put a bag on him. So I'm like, this is not going to work. This is not going to work. There's no way this is going to go off without a hitch. Maybe she's going to get shot. Maybe she's going to get cut. Maybe something is going to happen here. This is, let me get this. The one thing that I really liked was when Travis really physically asserted himself. Whereas the one bodyguard is rushing in and he headbutts them and kind of starts.
Was awesome.
He starts kicking some ass. And I'm like, what the crap? He's not this good. But then I go back to a line where he's talking with Alex. and they're having their little come into Jesus discussion about guilt, and she's trying to make him feel bad about how she had to kill the boy. And then he says, I had to do the same thing for my son's mother.
Mm-hmm.
And, you can never forget it. The guilt never goes away. And then I see Alex kind of rescind and say, okay, she's okay with Travis again at that point, because she's realizing Travis's decision was based on a whole lot of other factors, not we don't want the boy on the boat. So it was much broader, and I think she gained respect for him. But he said, I'm always physically restraining myself because my son is always watching how I act.
Mm-hmm.
And if I act out in violence, he's going to think that's okay. So he keeps restraining himself until he absolutely needs to, and then he just kind of hulks out for a second and just starts cracking some skulls.
I actually watched that part of the exchange, and Madison was right in there too, kicking that guy in the ribs. And I thought, wow, they are pretty badass when they put themselves to it.
Yeah, I totally agree. I just wish they would do it more.
Yeah.
So then the other part of the exchange, where it went down the bite, everything kind of worked out. It was great. It was cool. I will say that Connor really was a man of his word. He was him and his goons were unarmed at that exchange.
Oh, you're right. I didn't take in that detail, but you are right.
They were completely unarmed, and that's why Connor got bit and the other guy got bit. And then the second bodyguard took off and tried to get Travis because they were legitimately unarmed. He showed up as a man of his word saying, unarmed, let's do the exchange, we're good to go. And it completely backfired on him. And obviously, it happened. So then you get to the end. My favorite, fingers crossed moment was when Alicia is sliding down the back of that dry docked mega yacht. I'm thinking oh God, I hope she misplayed it and slides and lands right on the dock. How awesome. Yay, she saved. And then she slides off the back and kind of splat right on the dock. I was thinking, yes, that's hilarious. Bang, it's done and over with. And then I thought, once they got on the boat and she was looking back at Jack, I thought she was going to wave him into the boat.
So there are a lot of people who are saying that he's going to be the new captain of the pirates.
Yeah, I definitely think there's going to be some leftovers there because Alex is still in there.
The pregnant girl who she's obviously got some bad blood for these guys.
Mm-hmm. And Jack are still alive. Yeah. And here's the thing. They kept talking about the 5 vessels that they have. They spent way too much time reminding the audience that there are 5 ships that they own.
So I have a question for you. Mm-hmm. I've been thinking maybe they're involved with the flotilla that Luis was talking about that kind of sees their safe passage.
Maybe, maybe not. I'm not sure how that's going to work out.
I think we're going to see next week. I mean, it looks like they're going to address that next week.
Yeah, I didn't watch the sneak preview from The Talking Dead last night, so I'm curious as to how much closure we're going to get.
Sorry, we're both yawning.
Yeah, we're both yawning. It's early. Oh, boy.
Well, so we've got 2 more episodes before they go on hiatus. So we've got to get some closure over the next 2 episodes.
Yeah, I hope we at least cross and get going to Baja, as in the end is in sight.
Right.
So back to the Abigails and the Strands. For as much of a badass as the bodyguard is, or the family handler, he has such a diminished role in the leadership and the hierarchy on the boat. I understand he just came on. However, he clearly should have came on. Nope, actually, this is how it's going to go. This is what happens. This is what's going to work and how this is going to be. I mean, period, plain and simple. So...
But he also defers to Strand, and it sounds like that's the relationship he has had with Strand and with Thomas Abigail for a long time.
Yeah, I mean, just think of him as a butler.
He's family.
As a bodyguard.
Yeah, he's family, but he is not quite family.
Right.
Yeah. So I want to go back to the laugh out loud moment because I had one too. And it was right at the very beginning. Did you check out what song was playing while Connor was preparing that meal?
Uh-uh.
It was I Fall to Pieces by Patsy Cline.
Oh,
And I just thought the pun was awesome.
that's funny. Yeah, I think there's a lot more people here that we didn't see too.
Well, it certainly sounds like the group is a lot bigger when they keep talking about, oh, everybody's got a purpose and, you know.
It can't be just 5 people.
Yeah, I agree. Which certainly speaks of a greater role and a return for this group of bad guys. And now Jack's got a vendetta because Alicia she kind of shined him on.
Yeah, I think we're not done seeing him yet. That much is very clear. But maybe it's not in a negative light. Maybe Jack and Alex go as one and try to just catch up with them and be nice and say, hey, because I don't, but maybe they do we've kind of just naturally assumed that Alex is going to join the group as a regular. What if Alex joins the group as a bad guy?
Right. She might.
She's just like, screw it. I have nothing to live for. I might as well just be a badass because nobody uses me. So maybe she's just going to start using other people.
I also think, and this is back to what I said a few minutes ago, she's got skills and knowledge that our group needs to have. So, I think that there is more to her, and I hope that they let her live up to that promise.
I don't know. It's going to be bad.
Yeah, I hope so.
The next two episodes, our group has to suffer a loss somewhere, right?
I agree.
I mean, they've escaped death, they've escaped capture, they've escaped hypothermia. They've gotten away pretty easy. They've escaped their own guilt. We're at the point where something bad has to permanently happen to the group.
I agree. And it needs to be something big. I mean, the death of Chris's mom was big, but it wasn't something that everybody saw. They need to have something that the group experiences and is scarred by.
Yeah, I mean, like, you need to have somebody bleed out right in front of everybody.
Yeah.
So whether that is Ophelia and so one thing I thought maybe it was going to be Travis. Mm-hmm. Because we have a lot of male leads on the show right now.
That's true.
And the one thing is during the Talking Dead, when he was on there, he just kept saying, well, my biggest goal is to make it to season 3. My biggest goal is to make it to season 3. So as this was happening, I'm like, maybe he's going to get it because he knew he was going to die. So he just kept reassuring everybody that he was going to be in season 3 because it was a joke. But what if that was all just a cover?
Well, and I definitely think in terms of usefulness, although he does have his moments of berserker, he is not as useful as Salazar. He's not as useful as Strand.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, he's a mechanic.
Not as useful as Nick.
He's a mechanic, a handyman. The general fix it. But once they get to Baja or wherever, do you really need it? Or to suffer that loss, maybe you kill the mechanic.
Right, because then they lose someone who's got a skill that they actually really need. Mm-hmm. But yeah, they need an Amy moment. I was thinking about that and thinking about her death. And it was horrifying, and it was in front of the bulk of the group, and it was completely out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And I think that really threw the original group of survivors way off kilter. And this group needs an Amy moment.
I agree.
Well, what else you got in the potpourri?
That's really it. There were just kind of those couple of points. They had some longer storylines to this, but it's really it for me.
I'm going to just look through really quick and see if there... Oh, I did like, and this was just a little moment, but they caught it, and I think they're going to use that too. Luis, when he was speaking Spanish to Strand, thinks nobody else understands.
Yeah.
And Salazar caught it, and I think that is going to be something that becomes significant in the future.
Well, I think Strand understands what's going on a little bit. Now that, oh crap, he's really trying to take us. He genuinely is trying to get us to Baja. There was no foul play. He was generally just bringing us there.
Right.
Because he's like, we only paid for 2 people. We can't bring 11. We paid for 2 people. But on the other side of the coin is maybe Daniel is aware of, well, if they only paid for 2 and there's 9 of us, that means 7 of us can't go.
Right.
So where are they going to cut bait, or who are they going to use to exchange? Hey, I'll give you 3 people, and then you let 3 of mine go.
And whoever this flotilla is, it sounds like they are really badasses.
Mm-hmm.
So that'll be an interesting confrontation. And maybe that's the setup for heading into the other half of the season.
Maybe.
And
I
I did read last night when I was kind of skulking around trying to find other stuff about this episode that it was originally planned that they would do the first 7 and then, quote, later in the year, they would go ahead and run the other 8. So
maybe Christmas?
I don't know. I mean, I definitely think it's going to be on a hiatus between, when Walking Dead Prime is not showing, but it'll be interesting to see how they fit it in.
Weird. So since we're already done talking about this episode, one thing I've seen...
I have one more thing. And then I promise I'll let it go. So I can't remember who Alicia had this exchange with. I didn't write it down in my notes. But she says, the laws of nature don't apply. You know, we used to live in this world where we thought if you believe the right things, eat the right things, wear your seatbelts, everything was going to be okay. But truly nothing matters.
Yeah, I think that was with Jack.
And I thought that was a really good summation of where they're at right now.
Yeah, it's when they're looking for boats, because I thought that was very telling to Alicia about Jack. Was here, you just pick a boat and you just start talking about it, and you reeled me in. Mm-hmm. She's like, I didn't reel you in. I genuinely was talking to you. And I think that's where she realized that, okay, I'm done with this guy.
Yeah.
I think that was her aha moment of, he was just treating the boats as commodities. Like, this one hasn't moved. That means they're broken down. This is a good ship. We would drop everything to go to this ship right now. And then we kind of just monitor and we wait to pick off the weak.
And it could have been anybody on the other end of that radio. If he had found some way to get in that person's head and get information, it could have been anyone other than Alicia.
Yep.
It was just convenient that she was a young woman who was alone.
Yep.
Yeah.
And now she realized that, and I think that's where she was just like, I'm done with you. Like, I literally fell in love with you over the radio, and even while we're going through this whole thing, I'm still completely on board with you, like, invested in you.
Mm-hmm.
But now I just learned that it was all just a commodity, and you're just one radio click away from another ship.
Yeah.
I'm out of here. And that was another thing, is there were a ton of ships out there that they were monitoring.
Yeah, there were. And, it makes sense. I mean, it makes sense that the people who have that wherewithal, who have the means, would go, hey, I'm just getting on this big boat and getting away from everything.
Mm-hmm.
So I know I said I was going to leave it, but I've got one more comment about the episode. I really, really loved Nick's admission that he's really comfortable in the world as it is now.
Mm-hmm.
I see Daryl in that. And not the fangirl Daryl, but, Daryl finally became the person that he should have been when everything went to hell. And now we're seeing the same thing in Nick. He moves in and out of this world very easily. He's very comfortable there, and he's useful. He's
like a Glenn Daryl hybrid.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. And so I just really, really liked that character's admission that this is a good world for him. This is a good change for him.
I agree. So the one thing I wanted to bring up from Robert Kirkman was that he penned a letter to the fans of The Walking Dead, again, apologizing for the season finale.
Negan. Yeah, I saw
saying,
that.
Hey, it wasn't our intention to troll anybody or do anything. We just wanted to, we didn't want to hook you to come back for season 7, blah, 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 blah. And I can't remember the article, but it sounds like it's going to be a 2-hour season premiere.
Really?
Yeah, because he said something about something. I vividly remember seeing the words 2-hour.
Oh, that's cool.
I mean, what else are you going to do? People are so pissed off. Are you really just going to do an hour and a half? I mean, an hour and a half, yeah, sure, but you need to win people back. You've got a lot of damage control to do. So I would assume you would do 2 hours. I swear to God, I read 2 hours.
So what I will say that I think is really amazing is that he has as much power as he wants. I mean, he can say, "No, I really think we need to give this one 2 hours," and AMC goes, "Oh, okay, you're right."
Well, yeah, and I think AMC obviously realizes the damage that's done too, because they see it, they see it coming, so they know they have to do that. So yeah, it's likely going to happen.
Wow,
Hopefully 2 hours.
that'll be cool.
But I just thought it was funny again. This long after, again he's coming back out and saying, "Hey, it wasn't our intentions." It's still the same message that him and Gimple are spitting out, but I think this is the fourth or fifth time now that I've seen something in print where they were again apologizing for not apologizing, because that would when you apologize you admit guilt.
Right.
They were just trying to temper the anger and just say, "No, it wasn't. Here's why we were doing this. It was supposed to be big and impactful, and we wanted you to debate this for 6 months." And yeah, we still would have debated for 6 months if we knew who died. We still would have talked about that death for 6 months.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
I think we would have gone into the season with just this incredible passion because we were all fired up about that death.
Yeah, and you want to see revenge, and you want to see the Rick Grimes standing in the train car of saying they don't know who they're messing with. You know?
I agree. Yeah, well, so they're not so much apologizing, they're just promising big payoff.
Right.
Yeah. And I keep seeing that phrase in particular used over and over again. Oh, there's going to be a big payoff.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there better damn well be.
There will be. I think that you can't afford to not live up to. You just keep hyping this all summer. You kept hyping Negan.
Yeah.
And look what happened. Now you're going to hype this return. You better deliver.
Hey, now on the positive side of having guests last night, I think we have a new listener.
Yay!
But she is getting caught up. She's actually just started watching the original series and she's binging on it. And I said, look, don't listen to Biters until you are caught up to the place where you can start listening with each episode. Otherwise, you're going to get massive spoilers. But come on down. We'd love to have you listen.
That's right.
So on that note, I think our feedback actually shows kind of how diminished people's interest is in this particular series.
Yeah, we've got a little, but hey, you know what? It's summer. People are busy. People are active. They're doing things. Everyone's catching up. They might be listening to 3 episodes at a time or something like that, or kind of drop in whenever. But as always, make sure you reach out. Our good buddy Thomas is always out there hanging out and shooting us stuff.
We've got 2 Thomases.
Thomas O'Mara.
Pretty cool. We've got O'Mara and Reese. So,
yes.
And we did get comments from both of them. So thank you, our Thomases times 2.
Yeah.
So Thomas O'Mara about this episode said, "Ugh, a step back from last week. Too easy to get Travis and Alicia back. 3 stolen steaks out of 5, or stolen steak dinners out of 5. So he and I rated independently, but we were right on the same track as far as the gauge. He said, hated the Chris and Madison scene. Oh my God, did I screw things up? Were we going to trade him for Dad? What the blank? How did all of this pop so quickly into his head?" And then Christina Hall, who I think this is the first comment we've seen from her, agrees. And your response was?
Yeah, I think so. I kind of listened to it up a little bit, and he could hear people up above on the deck. Saying, what are we going to do now, and the exchange and stuff like that. So that's why I think he kind of put it together like, oh, crap. Was this what we were doing with him? Shit, sorry.
And I've got to tell you, the other thing is that moment in this episode where Maddie's kind of cradling him and mommying him and says, oh, it's all going to be okay. It's all over. And I thought, that is the biggest, fattest lie I have ever heard. Let's see. Thomas Reese did respond to our last show, and he said, "What's up, guys? Great show, guys." As always, thank you, Thomas. It's really good to hear that. Haven't been writing in as much because I've been extremely busy, but I'm still here.
He's got a new baby. That's why he's busy.
Yeah. Bold prediction number 1: all children born from the infected are immune. Boom! I just told you how the series will end. You're welcome. Follow up number 1: the pregnant chick left the boat. We'll see her again. And he was right. We did see her again. So he and I had a back and forth, and I said, bigger ramifications. Does that mean Judith is immune? And he's like, yeah, I told you how the series was going to end.
Well, the only way you're going to know if Judith is immune is if you kill her.
Right.
That's the only way you're going to know is if you kill one.
That is grim. Or if she gets bitten but doesn't die.
Well, you got to find out. Might as well learn the lesson quicker.
Yeah, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what happens with Judith. It's just all a journey, man. I mean, that's always my response is, it'll be interesting to see what happens if. And then I'm like, I'm just along for the ride.
I am glad Judith is an afterthought. I think she's more of a burden to the writers than anything at this point. Mm-hmm. And I'm glad she is not like taking this giant focal point of where we have a giant episode of prepping to protect a Judith, where it's like, okay, we're going on this giant raid. Oh, you. Yeah. Hey, grab Judith. Make sure we don't leave without her. Okay, cool. Off we go.
Writers, if you are listening, do not do that.
Yeah.
No, I agree. And it's not afterthought as in no one cares about Judith, but they don't make a big deal about having this baby. She's just another part of their reality, and they're doing the best they can to adapt to having a toddler in the zombie apocalypse.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I like that.
Cool. Well, all right.
So I just want to remind people that, we're kind of trying to figure out when the hiatus is and what exactly we're going to do. So if you want to weigh in on that, we would love to hear from you. And otherwise,
take it one dead day at a time. Oh, terrible.
No, that was better. I keep thinking it's better. All right. Have a good week.
See ya. Bye.
Bye.